Hello, hello, hello. What is up, MCR family? Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Should be a fun one since I haven't seen Gary in a while. There's a lot of topics that came out that I wanted to discuss with Gary. So thank God we're here, live at the House of Dreams recording studio in LA, and Gary live in Dallas. Should be a fun show, a lot to get into. We're going to dive back into Manny Pacquiao, Spence, Fury, and Wilder, since one, Gary wasn't on those shows, and two, I do want to discuss more like which is the bigger fight of the year, because it does feel like one of those fights is going to be the fight of 2021. Which one is it? And obviously, Brandon Figueroa had a big win. Gary's been itching and dying to rant about that. So, I'm excited just to hear that. Without further ado, let me get to my co-host, the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary.
I don't know if Santiago is listening, if Santiago's there, but we need to get the phone lines open again. We need to get the Skype line open again to have this Brandon Figueroa talk because that was absolutely sensational. I've seen the future of boxing, and it comes from the Rio Grande Valley. That was something else. There's not going to be any beating him at 22, 26, 30, 35, 40, 40. I don't know how high he can go, but that was incredible. That is the future. That is the present and future of boxing. So the Figueroa family is the past, present, and future of boxing.
Gary, there's no way you actually think that Figueroa's going to go all the way up to 140.
I said 22, 26, 30, and then, he's 5'10", 5'9", 30, 35. I don't know, somewhere in there.
A lot to get into, Gary. Do you want to start with that? I'm assuming you want to start with that, Gary, because
I was not expecting to even go here, but yeah, absolutely, I want to start with Brandon Figueroa.
Thoughts on it. I gave my thoughts about it, though it was brief. I thought it was a fight that was spectacular. It was rather dominant from Figueroa, though I don't think I learned anything in particular from this fight, if that makes sense.
The fight was what I thought it was going to be. High level, highly competitive, hot warfare, and that Figueroa was going to win. I did think it would go longer, but that body, you saw Neary slowing down, right? Like it was evident in the fifth round that Neary couldn't do this for 12 rounds. Figueroa could. And the end, I guess all knockouts are abrupt by definition, but the knockout was abrupt, right? It was a body shot, a perfect body shot, and that was it. But if that didn't do it, something else was going to do it soon because Neary was really slowing down.
He had a really good, 2 or 3 rounds.
He started off the first 3, maybe even 4, but you saw something switch in the 5th round. He was like, okay, Figueroa may not be winning the fight on the cards, like he might be down after 4 rounds, but he's now in control of the fight. And this ain't going 12. Figueroa is gonna stop him at some point, and the ending came quickly.
Yeah, it did. Obviously the next fight is Stephen Fulton. You have to admit, Gary, that fight is going to be a much tougher outing probably than Luis Nery for a variety of reasons. One, Luis Nery moving up in weight. We've never seen him really establish himself at this division, let's be honest. 2, they're different fighters completely. Fulton and Luis Nery are antithetical fighting styles, let's be quite honest. And I think there was enough that we've seen from Figueroa within the last fight with Luis Nery and throughout his career that could lead someone like me to the assumption that Fulton's going to find more angles, more sort of opportunities to get his counters going, and it's going to be far more successful when guys like Luis Nery did find success throwing counters and sort of catching Figueroa in between his combinations, but it wasn't enough. He didn't have the movement. He didn't have the defensive acumen or the cardio to deal with Brandon Figueroa. Stephen Fulton has the cardio. He's a bigger fighter than Luis Nery. He's a much better fighter than Luis Nery. I think if anyone can counter Figueroa's aggression, it is going to be Stephen Fulton in this division, right? I might even, because, Gary, I've been on record saying that I would pick Angelo Leo against Figueroa.
You don't still think that, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No, I do not. But Fulton is still that bridge too far for me.
It's possible. So I'm going to say, I said if Nery was going to have a chance to beat Figueroa, which I thought was highly unlikely, I said it's going to be a great fight. he was going to have to do it all from the outside. And Figueroa, I know that sounds weird because Figueroa is a tall, longer guy, so you think the outside would favor Figueroa, but obviously it doesn't. But Figueroa, he switches so much. But when he was fighting out of the southpaw stance, he was having a level of success with the straight left hand from the outside later in the second half of that fight. He had some. Now, look, he's not going to outbox Stephen Fulton from the outside, granted. So I would say if Stephen Fulton is able to keep the fight on the outside and only fight on the inside in small spurts, he'll win the fight. However, if it's the opposite, if Figueroa can keep the fight on the inside and only have to fight on spurts on the outside, he'll win the fight. So I think this is a truly 50-50 fight. I think if Fulton, like the same way I think if Barrios fights his fight, he'll beat Tank Davis. I think if Fulton fights his fight, he'll beat Figueroa. If he can't fight his fight, he'll lose.
Yeah, I largely agree with that assessment. Absolutely. And then obviously the winner of that fight is the number one guy in the division, right? And like Figueroa, off of this win, you can, I think, safely put him in that top 5 as well. And then I think, wherever you have him in the top 5 is up to your opinion. But
I got a question for the Spanish speakers, right? So Pantera, which is Luis Nery's nickname, means panther. Panterita is Omar Figueroa's nickname. So what does that mean? Like Little Panther? Why would that be a nickname? Is that what that means?
I'm not a Spanish expert.
Speaker, but like just to my linguistically, it would sound like Little Panther. Right? Is that right? Small baby panther?
I mean, we are doing this based off of Chocolatito. Let's be honest. Right? Is that the precedent we're using here?
Well,
that's Little Chocolate, right?
Little Chocolate? Well, Ita would be little.
No, I don't know. Santiago, help us out in the chat, man. Anyone, please. I that's a good question though, Gary. I did not think about that. I would assume it means Little Panther. I would assume. I do not know.
Why would that be? Like that doesn't sound like a fear. I guess maybe his dad senior was Pantera, so he was Panterita. I don't know because he's a junior. But like, is that what it means? Little Panther?
I would assume that makes logical sense, doesn't it, Gary?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Look at over here. Anyways, other fights on that card were Daniel Roman defeating Ricardo Espinoza and Xavier Martinez picking up a win as well. Any thoughts on those, Gary?
This is a while ago. Xavier Martinez, I was really high on him. I don't know. He might just be a 10 to 15 guy. He may not have world championship pedigree. He looked fine. I was just really, I said, okay. When I saw him coming up, I said, okay, this is a guy who's got world championship pedigree. Maybe. Again, he's still really young, so he has time to get better, but like I haven't seen the improvement in him as he's taken these incremental steps up. And then Danny Roman can't help but being a fun. I mean, he won and he won clearly, but boy, he can't help being in a fun fight. It doesn't matter who he fights. He can fight. I mean, the best guy in the weight class, so he can fight his cab driver. It's gonna be a barn burner. Like he can't help but being in a fun fight.
Yeah, he just doesn't pack that power, man. That's going to really, I think, affect him in those top fights. Like, he's probably going to fight, Leo next, I would assume?
I hope so. And that's going to be another barn burner. You know that.
And I feel like Leo wins that one, right?
Leo's a bigger hitter, so he just beats him up. And
yeah, that's how I view. And Santiago confirms our Spanish translation there. You're right, Gary. Look at you.
I'm going for trilingual. Is that multilingual? I guess is that
no, bilingual? And then
bilingual. What if I master Spanish too? Tri or multi? Trilingual sounds just multilingual.
No, it is trilingual. And
then that sounds like a made up thing. Okay.
And then I think it's all the way to like somebody might correct me. I think it gets to where like if you get to 5 languages, it's a polyglot or something like that. Like that's the word for it. It's a weird word. It stops being lingual and ends up being a different word.
Santiago is trilingual. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Is he?
Yeah. He speaks French.
Okay, that's like me saying I speak French.
No, Santiago, say something in French. Like say, I like boxing on TV. Something like you would have to speak French to say. I'm telling you.
Yes, we boxing something. See, I speak French, Gary. Boom, lawyer.
Santiago is trilingual.
Yeah, but you have to be fluent, I think, for it to count. Like you can't just have like some conversational ability. You have to be completely fluent to count, I believe. Gary, it's okay.
I I'm thinking his French is better than you're giving it credit for. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I've never been around Santiago, and he just popped out the French on me, man.
Because like I wouldn't speak Italian around you because it's not like other Italian speakers in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like Spanish, like
Gary, you spoke so much Italian around me. What are you talking about?
all right, but like I don't
All right.
break out in Italian conversations because there's not like a group full of Italian speakers typically, and especially where I live. Right? It's just me.
If this was like the Upper East Side, a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, digressing. There was a massive fight this last weekend, Gary. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw the whole card, bro.
There wasn't much on this card though. So,
well, can we get into that Ken Sims and Elvis fight too? Because that was a good scrap.
Which one was that?
Oh
yes, that was a good scrap. No, that was. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. The main event, obviously, Josh Taylor defeating Jose Ramirez via rather entertaining scrap. I think if you take out the knockdowns, it's a rather even fight, but those knockdowns lead it to be a little more dominant, obviously, towards Josh Taylor's side. In terms of the scorecards, that's what won him the fight because all the scorecards were 114, 112, which are basically because you got the knockdown.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think there was some controversy with the second knockdown. Was it Kenny Bayless?
Can we get into that? Because I'm going to have a different take than you. But let's just talk about the fight first, and then let's carve out some time to talk about it. Because we'll get into that.
Yeah. Josh Taylor, fantastic. Let's just be quite honest here. Like, he did. Like, even though Ramirez was competitive, and there was definitely times where he had spurts of offense, and he definitely seemed to be, especially in the early rounds, a little bit heavy-handed compared to Josh Taylor. But it didn't matter because I think Josh Taylor was finding the better angles. Like, that was the reality. He was the stronger guy in the clinch. I don't think anyone expected that, me included. I don't think Ramirez expected that, for fuck's sake. But clearly, when they got in the clinch, Taylor was the stronger fighter there. He was able to impose his will more, and Ramirez was not used to that. That's why he never really threw that much in the clinch, and Taylor did. And obviously, at range, Taylor was able to land that left hand rather consistently. I think that first knockdown was fantastic. It was really good. And the rest of the fight, I thought he fought an amazing game plan. I think he neutralized Jose Ramirez in ways that even I didn't really think he could. Gary, your thoughts on Josh Taylor now being the undisputed champion at 140?
Okay, so first I want to put to bed, like I've seen this Facebook debate in different Facebook groups, like who had a tougher path to undisputed, him or Terrence Crawford?
We all know.
I love Terrence Crawford.
We all know.
Come on. Come on, look who he had to fight. He had to fight Prograis, and then he had to fight Ramirez. And you guys know I love Postal, but Postal isn't as better than any of those guys.
I mean, Josh Taylor beat him, for fuck's sake. Like, we already have that.
And Ramirez beat him. That was and I also don't think this fight was as good as the Taylor Prograis fight, but it was a great fight, right? I think for Taylor, that's like a 10 out of 10 performance. He did everything well. And so, like, I really tip my hat to Ramirez because he was in the fight, right? Like, he was really, really in that fight. So I think there's a clear 1 and a clear 2 now, right? I think Ramirez, like, that's a really good showing from Ramirez. People were asking me, like, all week I was at fights in San Antonio, I was at fights in Mesquite, like, who's going to win? I was like, Taylor's going to win. I don't even think it's that close. Everyone's like, I mean, that's closer than you think. I'm like, I think Taylor's that good. Like, it's not, and it was that close. Like, they were right. I was right. Ramirez was right there with them, right? Like, Taylor was just a little bit better. He was a little bit better on the inside. He was a little bit better on the outside. And the 2 knockdowns were the difference. But like Ramirez, if Taylor goes back up to 47, goes up to 47, Ramirez is the best guy at 140 because Ramirez can make the weight comfortably. He's not going anywhere. So if Taylor's gone, Ramirez is probably the best guy in the division. So nothing I say is an insult to Ramirez. Ramirez fought beautifully. He just came up a little short against the best guy in the division. And Taylor's that good. Taylor can fight from all angles, from all ranges. Taylor, and he's better defensively than you think, right? Like, think a guy long like that would be defensively bad, like Hooker, but he's not. Like, he's.
Damn, shots fired.
Is Hooker Pernell Whitaker out there? Yeah. That's my favorite fighter. He's on the wall. Where is he? There he is. Right there. Can you see him? Oh, you can't see him.
Ramirez's body work was fantastic as well. Like, there was times where he did hurt Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
and Josh Taylor was able to survive or recover or neutralize Ramirez's aggression. I mean, honestly, I think the thing that won him the fight the most was the inside. The fact that he was able to dominate the clinch in the way he did.
That's what he won the Prograis fight on the inside too. Prograis did his better work from the outside, which is weird because he's a shorter guy.
Yeah.
And he has a shorter reach.
And he usually is a guy that wants to do inside work.
Yeah.
Like Ramirez.
I remember going to that fight saying if the fight's on the inside, Prograis wins. If Taylor can keep it on the outside, Taylor wins. And it was the complete opposite of that. And this fight, Taylor does really good work on the inside. He's going to be tough to beat. If he goes up to 47, he's still going to be tough to beat. Again, 47 is a different animal, and there are killers at 47.
What's next for Taylor? Do you think he moves up? Or what do you want for Taylor? How about that?
There are 4 options, really 3, and I'll put the 4th one to the side because it's not really realistic. So there are 3 options. There's a cattle fight, which no one really wants. All right, I mean, but it's like when Canelo takes his mandatory. Like if he wants to be undisputed, he's got to do it, right? Then there's he can fight. He can have Tio come up to him, and I don't want to keep selling Tio short, but like that might be if Tio wins and he's an undisputed champion in 2 weight classes by the time he's 23 or 24. Boy, is he on a trajectory. Boy, is he on a path. But that may be a step too far to jump up and beat Taylor, although it's not impossible. I would pick Taylor. Again, I don't want to keep.
Quickly, if Lopez theoretically fights Taylor and does what you say won, like
which isn't impossible, right?
It's not possible, but like he's almost in like that Salvador Sanchez like prodigy mode, right? Like
exactly.
I don't really know how to quantify his legacy at 23 if he was to do that.
If he retired at 20, if he did that and retired at 23, 24, whatever he is, does he retire a Hall of Fame? I'm not trying to sound funny. Yes. Undisputed in 2.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or he could go up to 47 and fight Crawford, which I think he'll fight Catterall, take a victory lap, and then go fight Crawford. That's what I think he'll do. I think although I don't know. I don't know if Tio can work out a deal with Top Rank, even though they still technically promote him. I don't know where we are with that. But I think the Crawford fight, like, it makes sense for both fighters. It's a legacy fight for both fighters.
Would Bobby even be involved in that since it's Josh Taylor and he's not really a Top Rank guy? Is he? Isn't he a Queensberry guy?
I thought he was like both.
We always kind of just assume that like
they're both. Yeah,
it's just like a shared stable. But at the end of the day, who's his like lead promoter? Like who's his actual promoter? I think it's Queensberry. It has to be Frank.
This is why I want Rob on the show. Rob would have the answer to that.
Santiago. But regardless, I think that's probably right that he takes the victory lap with Catterall.
Yeah.
And then weighs his options. Because one, I think Crawford is probably going to fight someone else in the meantime in the summer.
Ugas?
No.
Then he's going to fight someone I don't care about.
We're going to talk about when we get to the Spence Pacquiao fight, okay, with what the fuck's happening with Crawford. But I would love the Crawford-Josh Taylor fight, let's be honest. Like, that would be an amazing fight. That would be a fight that actually I think, care about to some degree. Even though it's not a super sort of mainstream casual sort of fight. Josh Taylor did just do like 1.6 million views on ESPN. Not bad. Based off of that performance as well. So I think him and Crawford would do really good rating on ESPN. I do like vaguely and like morbidly want the Lopez fight, even though that's not the better option right now. And I do pick Josh Taylor to win that pretty handily, to be quite honest. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't pick Lopez to win that one. I think Taylor's too big, too strong, too good. Like Lopez is a lightweight right now. He needs to hang out with these young lightweights and create a legacy there, then move up. But you said there was a 4th option that is not realistic. What was that 4th option?
The winner of Barrios and Tank. So it would be like the other champion kind of at 140. Which of all the fights that can be made, that would be the most difficult to be made. But that would be like the 4th option.
Can you imagine like if Tank like knocked out Barrios in like dramatic fashion on pay-per-view, and then there's Gervonta Davis versus Josh Taylor on like Showtime or Fox pay-per-view? That'd be hilarious. What a strange like pathway of events there if that was to happen. Taylor is obviously pound for pound. I mean, is he above Crawford in the pound for pound ranking right now?
I could make an argument because his path was more difficult, but Crawford's won belts in 3 weight classes, so I still have Crawford ahead of him. You can make an argument for Taylor, and that's fine.
Because Taylor, like, regardless of the whole, like, oh, he's won more belts and more divisions, Taylor's has a better resume, period.
He does, period.
Like, regardless of the divisions, like, Crawford's best wins today are still Postal, Jeff Horn,
and Gamboa. The Delarme win looks better in retrospect, but it's still not a. It's a top 10 to 15 welterweight, top 15. For a guy with Crawford's clout and status, that should not be his best wins. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't look at De La Hoya and Pacquiao and Mayweather and the other pound for pound kings who were in that division and say, their best win is over a fringe 15 guy, right? But you don't say Mayweather's best wins over Andre Berto. It's like, or
no disrespect, Diego Corrales, for example.
Diego Corrales was a beast, though.
He is a beast, but like Postal's a beast. In a way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. It's just there's a different bracket of wins.
Corrales is better than anyone on Crawford's resume.
Yeah, that's probably true. And that just goes to show how poor Crawford's resume is when he's almost 40-0 and a 3-division champion. Like I remember people like mocking Adrian Broner for having such a weak 3-division champion resume, and obviously Crawford doesn't have that weak of a resume. But holy shit, like Crawford does have a weak resume that gets passed, and like we give it the benefit of the doubt for some reason. I don't know why.
At 35, he beat Gamboa and Burns, so I'm not going to kill him for that. 40 was just weak when he was there. Like, what did you want him to do? You know what I'm saying?
35 was weak because Gamboa and Burns were top 5 names at that time. And think about it, they're still in the division, and the division got better. That's why they're not in the top 2 or 5 anymore. Yeah. They're in the top 10 or 15. It's not just because time has passed, because the division got dramatically better. 140, same thing. Like this division got dramatically better. That's why Postal is no longer the number 2 guy in the division. He's the number 10 guy.
8, yeah.
10.
Yeah.
So the reality is that Crawford benefited from very weak divisions, the HBO machine, the Top Rank machine, and then the ESPN machine. Those are all giant conglomerates that have worked to build and create stars out of nothing before, and they kind of did that with Crawford. Like, that's the reality. But anyways, we're going to get to Crawford a bit later on when we talk about Spence Pacquiao. Gary, let's finish up this card. Your boy, Jose Cepeda, picked up a win against Hank Lundy in a atrocious fight. This was bad. I don't know what happened to Cepeda. Bad weight cut, I was hearing. But he just looked poor. He didn't look like he was throwing on, all cylinders. I don't know what happened. This was a poor performance.
So 2 things I'm going to say about Cepeda. First, he fights to the level of his competition. He always has. He does. He didn't look good against Kendo Castaneda, and then he beat Baranchik. He didn't look good against Hank Lundy. But he looked good against Ramirez and fought Ramirez. Tough for 12 rounds and lost a close decision. But he did lose. The people who say he won that fight, and I'm a Cepeda fan, no, Cepeda didn't win that fight. It was close, and it was good, but he clearly lost.
Are there Cepeda truthers out there?
There are people who think Cepeda won that fight, yeah. But he fought good in that fight, right? So he fights the level of competition. The other thing I would say is he's not all the way back, and he may not get all the way back from after what he did with Baranchik. Like, there's a piece of him that's gone. He's not the same person that walked in that ring that came out. And that's not his fault. Look at what they went through. So, like, that little piece of him, he left in the ring. He's not getting it back. So he's not as good as he was before that fight. You don't go through a war like that and come out whole.
Yeah. It's always weird how, like, some guys, like, do. Or, like, Josh Taylor's had, like, 2 wars. You can even like argue the Postal fight was a real back and forth fight as well. And he, doesn't look, changed at all. Some guys are weird like that. Provodnikov took forever for him to just be a little bit slower. Lucas Matisse, same thing. It took forever for him to start looking a little bit slower. Some guys are just built different. It's weird.
So you brought up Provodnikov. I was talking to Chris Algieri at the Canelo fight, and he goes, nobody hits like Provodnikov. It's a completely different kind of fight. You don't even feel like you're getting hit by a glove. You just feel like you're getting hit by a tank every time he hits you. And then I asked him about Amir Khan, right? And I said, Barrios and Tank and Paulie Malignaggi both told me that Khan's got a lot of power. And Algieri confirmed that his power is better than Spence's. That's what he said. Like, you don't think that, right? Like, he's got some pop.
I still don't think that. I still don't think that.
That's three guys who've all told me his power is shockingly good.
Khan does have good pop, but to say that he has better pop than Spence, I don't believe that.
I didn't say that. Algieri said that.
I know that Algieri said that, but Algieri, we've seen the two fights. You know what I mean? Like, we saw what Spence did to you, and we saw what you did to Khan.
Would you think Algieri won that fight, right?
Like, it was one of those where you can make the argument Algieri won it. And do I make that argument? Absolutely, yes. Yes. It was one of those fights where, like, it wasn't that entertaining. Like, both guys didn't throw enough. It was a weird fight, to be quite honest. But Spence, demolished him. Like, that picture of Spence obliterating his face with, what was it, like a right hook? Like a right lead hook? That picture was, like, one of the pictures for Spence's career until, like, he, like, fought Kell Brook in, like, better names. Like, that was the iconic photo of his come up. Just weird for Algieri to say that because we've seen the fights. Also on the card, Elvis Rodriguez lost to Kenneth Sims Jr. Obviously, Elvis Rodriguez was an undefeated prospect. Kenneth Sims Jr. kind of a solid, I'm not gonna say journeyman because that's way too disrespectful.
Opponent.
A solid opponent. Yes, a solid B-side. Not someone that was gonna be a pushover, and he wasn't a pushover because he won the fight, and I thought won it pretty clearly too. Rodriguez, in my opinion, looked a little bit out of shape. I don't think he was, again, sort of a thread line throughout a lot of these cards. There's some guys that just did not look like they trained. He didn't look like he trained for this fight for some reason. Kenneth Sims Jr. looked like he trained, and it was just an easier fight for him. He won the exchanges, won in the inside, the outside. Like, Kenneth Sims Jr. kind of dominated this fight, in my opinion. Like, I agree with that 78-74 scorecard. Gary, your thoughts?
I'm going to make an analogy here. Probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a team that made a run in the NCAA tournament, Florida Gulf Coast, right? And there was nothing fluke. They were a 15 seed that won 2 games and almost won in the Sweet 16, right, as a 15 seed. There was nothing fluky about it. I think they beat Georgetown or something in the first round, and they had the better athletes on the court. Right? There's nothing fluky about it. Like, they weren't like hitting half-court shots or shooting unconscious. Like, they were just better. That's how I felt about Kenneth Sims. There was nothing fluky about that upset. Like, he didn't just, be able to bully a smaller guy around. He didn't catch lightning in a bottle and land a perfect shot. He was better. I don't know where Kenneth Sims goes from here, but he's better than Elvis. Like, he did. Don't kill the messenger, bro. I'm just telling you what he said.
Maybe because he was knocked unconscious and didn't remember the power. I don't know, man. I don't know.
There was nothing fluky about what Kenneth Sims did. He was better. He was better on the inside. He was better on the outside. He switched to the southpaw stance for a while. His right hand had the conventional stance, would not miss. It was like a laser. Like, I don't know where Kenneth Sims goes from here, but he's got a future, and I would say a brighter future than Elvis.
And it's weird because, like, it's like Kenneth Sims is not someone that, like, all of a sudden, like, is on the scene. Like, we've seen him fight before. Like, he fought like Montana Love, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah.
Like, we've seen him fight before, and that was like a draw, I want to say, or like a loss. Like, I forget exactly. He's somebody that was always sort of an opponent.
I think he was a Showbox guy, right? Like, we've seen him on Showbox and stuff.
I believe he was on Showbox. Yeah, I can look up real fast if you want. What was that Montana Love fight on? Yeah, that was Showtime. That was on a Jared Enos card.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, he was just better than Elvis Rodriguez. And Rodriguez is one of those guys where he's a little bit like what I talked about with the top ranked machine. He got built up, and I don't think he's the real deal. He's beat no one of note if you go through his resume. This was the first real opponent that he's faced.
No, I was going through his resume because they love him, and I was like, okay, let me see. He's beat nobody. His resume, he doesn't even have like decent B-sides on. He's really beating nobody.
This was the first good B-side.
Yeah,
and the B side kind of dominated in the fight. So I think Elvis was just a poor man's Verdejo or something like that. Like let's just be honest about it. Like I know that maybe comparison is a little bit.
Oh, it's cringe now.
We're cringe now, but for the comparisons to top rank building up prospects that don't really belong in that conversation, Rodriguez is probably one of those top rank hype jobs. Let's be quite honest. Like Berlanga is definitely going to be. Let's be honest. Like Edgar Berlanga is on the way of where we just saw Rodriguez go.
I don't know if you think Berlanga is going to be a long reigning world champion. Okay, if you just think Berlanga is going to be a perennial top 10 guy, I don't know. I think with his power, with Andre Rozier, I think he'll be a top 10 guy. No? Okay.
I don't see it. I don't see it. The guy doesn't throw a jab.
Rozier will get him. Rozier will. I think Rozier's a great trainer. Like I think Rozier will make the most out of him, and we'll get him to jab. We'll get him to listen. We'll make him fundamentally better. Right? I think going the full 8-round fight?
I think so. Yeah.
Was a blessing for him. Right? Like now you're gonna listen to me. Okay? Like you're gonna listen to me now. And I think that just that power that he has would be like Joe Smith before Joe Smith Jr. got good, right? Like he's a top 10 guy, right? I mean, he's not going to beat the best in the division, but he's going to be around, in the conversation.
I don't know yet. I don't know about Joe Smith kind of guy. I don't know about even perennial top 10. I do not see that yet. And even like 168, which is a awful division. Like it's so lacking in terms of depth. I don't know when he actually gets to that level that he'll belong there, to be quite honest. I have no idea what the division is going to look like. We could have Charlo and Andrade in that division now. Like it could be a lot of guys at 168 that weren't there when he's on his way up, and he doesn't belong there.
The thing, I saw he was at the Canelo press conference, not the press conference, but the weigh-in. He's not really built like a boxer. He's built like a weightlifter. Like, can you thin him out and move him down? Like he looks bulky. Like maybe that's just the way God made him. I don't know, but like. It looks like he's a weightlifter. Can you, like, thin him out? He's going
to have major cardio issues in a 12-round fight. Let's just be quite honest about it. Also on the card, Robbie Ramirez picked up a win. I kind of forget what the fight looked like, to be quite honest. Javier Martinez picked up a win, and other people picked up wins. Gary.
And the rest of that card wasn't very good.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was a very, very weak card. Let's be quite honest.
And, we talked about Zepeda, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
All right.
Let's briefly take a side turn here to the news of the last week or so, because as Daniel Edwards in the chat says, Gary, you're way too chill right now. You should be, more hyped than ever. First off, your boy Fig won.
I wasn't hyped about that.
No, you were.
You guys not get that I was excited about that?
And your boy Usyk's gonna get the AJ fight finally.
Is he?
Yeah, the WBO's just coming down hard on Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Let's be quite honest.
If this happens, like if you said to me, Usyk fights AJ, Fury fights Wilder, pick one winner that you have to bet all of your money on. I'm taking Usyk.
You mean like in a theoretical tournament, or like
no, just in those two fights. Give me one guy who you would bet's gonna win.
Oh, I see. It's so funny because I would definitely pick AJ. Like in terms of who's the safe bet,
the safest bet there.
Yes, I understand what you're saying now, because I think Fury Wilder is still sort of a wild card fight. Like anything could happen there. With this one, nope, not so much. I'm pretty set in my ways about how I view this matchup. I think Usyk's going to have some success in it. I think he's going to have rounds where he's able to get on the outside and box well with AJ and win rounds. But eventually, the power, the accuracy, the overall boxing skill of AJ is going to show through. I think he's going to connect with the jab more than I think you think. I think that's going to really upset Usyk's rhythm. We saw that with Michael Hunter fight. We saw that in the Breedis fight in some ways, that the jab offsets Usyk's rhythm dramatically. And I do think there's a dramatic power difference as well. Like AJ is a heavyweight power puncher.
If AJ is going to win, it has to be with the jab. right? Like, and then he has to set things up off the jab, but he has to win the jab for sure, and he has to control Usyk with the jab. If he doesn't, he has no chance because he's mechanical. And like, look, AJ's jab is stiff, like it's a hard jab, like it acts almost as a power punch in a way, like that Michael Hunter's doesn't. But Michael Hunter's is quicker. Like Michael Hunter gets the target quicker.
Michael Hunter is 6'2", 210 pounds, and doesn't have a six-pack. I mean, have we ever seen Michael Hunter ever exhibit power in his life?
No, Michael Hunter doesn't have power. What I'm saying is he has a quick jab, right? Like his jab is quick.
Yes. I think AJ has a great jab.
It's different. It's like more like Foreman's jab, where it's like a power punch, but it's not
a power jab.
Yeah.
It's definitely a power jab. It's not like a Paulie Malignaggi jab, for example.
Yeah, he's not flicking it out there, right? Like he's throwing it with, with intent, right? If he can control him with the jab, he can win the fight. I don't see that happening. I see him getting angles, getting in on him, landing, and then tying him up, right? Frustrating him. I think he's going to start getting wild, and I think it's going to be like a pro versus an amateur. What it's going to look like in there, like it. I like you guys make it like I like AJ. I think AJ's a great dude. I think he's great for the sport. I think he's a warrior who fights everyone. Although he doesn't want the Usyk fight, he fights everybody else. I think AJ's a great champion who's great for the sport.
What do you mean doesn't want the Usyk fight?
He's trying him. Well, maybe he don't want.
I mean, clearly, come on, man. Like Eddie is Eddie.
Because Eddie knows that Usyk's going to win the fight, and then he's going to lose the money on this fight. He knows.
No, I
like
think
he can get Usyk Fury fight, which will be a big fight, but it ain't this.
I do not think AJ is ducking Usyk. I think that's preposterous.
I don't think he's ducking him. Like he's going to fight him. I just think it's the fight he didn't want. Like just like
Well, because let's be honest, it's not the biggest money fight out of the bunch. Like if the Fury fight was on the table, in his mind, that's $160 million fight. You're telling me that like AJ should want to honor his mandatory and fight Usyk over that? Unification for that much money? Come on.
No, I was saying more, and Fury did the right thing. I was saying Fury should honor the contract and fight Wilder. Like that was my bigger complaint.
And he didn't. I mean, we had an arbitrator force this to happen.
Right. I mean, you're right. He still, like I said, he could have said, okay, sign, because they gave him till September something to fight him. The Fury fight was supposed to, the AJ fight was supposed to be August. Sign both of them, and then get injured and say I have to pull out of the Wilder fight. Maybe they'll strip me of that one belt, but I'm still undisputed. Or maybe they'll just push it back to the end of the year.
They would have definitely got an injunction on that. Let's be honest, Gary. If let's say like he had signed contracts for 2 different fights in the same time frame and got injured for one that was already through arbitration, that wouldn't have worked, Gary. Let's be honest. Like that, there's no way he could have got around that.
I wanted to gloat on that, right? Because I was saying, I think any fair court, any fair arbitrator would rule in favor of Wilder. And everyone laughed at me and said I was ridiculous.
We've been saying that forever. We just never heard any real news on it.
Yeah.
It was always just whispers. And, Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum were loud as fuck in every boxing media outlet saying this fight's 100% done. It's signed. They gave number figures. They gave locations. Like they gave all the things that boxing media latches onto in terms of news. The arbitration was never in the headlines.
I think they were pushing that to try to get to the arbitrator, to make the arbitrator rule in their favor, right? Like tell them that it's a done deal, and it didn't happen. Like they got a fair court, right? And that the fair arbitrator made a fair ruling. Like, I know that's not what y'all want to hear, but the contract is what it is. If you don't like it, then you didn't like the rematch clause that was mandated in the contract. Like. It sucks that there was a worldwide pandemic that pushed everything back 15, 16 months, whatever it's been. I get that, but he's still entitled to the fight. That was the contract. Sorry, guys. And now, Wilder and Usyk are going to win. No, I think Fury will win. I think Usyk will win.
Dude, can you imagine?
I don't think that's impossible. Like,
no, it's not.
I'm going to pick Fury because I picked Fury the first 2 times. But to say that Wilder can't win this fight, y'all are wrong. Like, he was within, 1 second of winning the first fight. 1 count away from knocking Fury out in the first fight. And then he got dominated in the second fight. But Wilder can win this fight. It's not like Fury is Pernell Whitaker and doesn't get hit at all. We've seen him get hit. We've seen him always get stopped by, what was the guy's name? Not Schwartz, the other one. What was the big?
Valine.
Valine. He almost got stopped by Valine a couple of times from the cut, and then in the last round he got rocked. If you're getting rocked by Otto Valine, like bad, like that, you're in a defensive posture up against the ropes. You don't think Wilder can stop you? Of course he can.
What are your thoughts about the amount of pad work and mitt work we've seen from Wilder with Malik Scott? Is there anything you chalk that up to? Because like my mind goes, I've never seen this much mitt work and pad work from Deontay Wilder in his life. Do you think that they're, how should I say this? Do you think they're making the right moves?
I do.
To pull off a game plan and do certain things to beat Tyson Fury. Maybe that not actually be successful, but are they doing the right steps to get in that direction?
Everyone was knocking this guy, right? Like, why would he pick Malik Scott as his trainer? Well, he knows Malik Scott a lot better than we do. Malik Scott is a pro who's always been known for having a good ring IQ. Like, I didn't see why this was. I mean, it was unconventional. I wasn't expecting it, but I didn't think it was like when the Nets hired Steve Nash. Like, really? Okay. I mean, this can work. Okay. So I didn't see this as a bad thing. I wasn't expecting it, but everyone is bashing this thing like he hired like his Uber driver to train him, right? Like, no, I think Malik Scott can do it. He obviously has his respect, right? He was always noted for being a heady guy in the ring. I think this is again, I don't know that Wilder's going to win. I'm going to pick Fury to win, but I think Wilder woke up to the fact that I have to come up with a better game plan. Like, I just can't sit back trying to set up right hands. Like, I have to do something. Like, and I think that's what him and Scott are doing. I think he thinks Scott's a good game planner, and that's what they're doing. I don't know if Scott's going to train him forever, but he's going to train him for this fight.
I agree with that assessment. I'm definitely still picking Fury because I think Fury just has figured out Wilder. And Wilder has far more technical flaws, obviously, than Tyson Fury. But regardless, that is sort of a wild card fight. I'm curious now, Gary, to sort of switch over to Pacquiao-Spence. Your view on which one's the big fight of the year?
Like, which one does more pay-per-view buys? Is that how we're going to measure this?
They're both going to be in the U.S., so we can compare them, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be about a month apart from each other, so we can definitely compare them in terms of time frame. Which one's going to do the bigger pay-per-view buy rate?
I keep wanting to say Fury Wilder. I keep wanting to say, but something's telling me not. Like, this Pacquiao-Spence is going to surprise you.
This feels special, right? Like, Pacquiao-Spence feels different.
Because it's possibly like something's going to happen. Either Pacquiao it's his last fight ever, and no one wants to miss it, and he loses, or he wins, and he's the GOAT. And that's not debatable anymore, right? If he beats Thurman and Spence when he's in his 40s, that's it. He's better than Archie Moore. Moore didn't beat those guys. I didn't be incredible. So, like, this is his last fight, or he becomes the greatest fighter ever. Like, those are the two outcomes here. So, like, I feel like that's going to do a huge number. But, like, if you just ask me which one's going to do more, the heavyweights are going to do more. So, I don't know. Like, if I had to pick under my head, I'm going to still say the heavyweights do more.
You know, it's funny. I think both probably do a little bit under 1 million pay-per-view buys each.
I was going to say 750 to 8, right around there for both of them.
I think both of them do probably around that number. It's going to be close. I do think it's going to be close. But I'll be honest. You know, this has always been the barometer for me. I know we've talked about this before. How many of your like regular friends, your normies, text you and hit you up about a fight, right? And I've had quite a few hit me up about Pacquiao-Spence. Already.
A shame because I had so many of the normies hit me up about the AJ Fury fight. Who's going to win that fight now? We're going to have to wait on that.
Really? In the U.S.?
Yeah, I got a ton of people asking me who was going to win that fight.
Okay.
But
let's say AJ Fury had happened. Would that be bigger than Pacquiao-Spence?
I think that would have been really big. Really big.
Especially from a global perspective, because Tyson Fury is now a little bit of a U.S. sports name, let's be honest. And they're both UK stars. It would have definitely drawn from more people from more places. I don't know. I definitely think Canelo Plant is getting upstaged, though. That's for damn sure.
Still Canelo, though. Like,
it doesn't matter, man. It's Canelo Plant. Like, let's be honest. Like, that fight's not sexy.
It's not, but it's still. But it's like LeBron James. It's like, okay, the Lakers are playing. Pick a nondescript team. And then on these other two networks, you have the Nets versus the Bucks and the Sixers versus the Jazz. You know, LeBron James still may do the biggest rating because of who it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, it's still
true. That is true. The unfortunate reality is we can't compare them all because Canelo Plant's not going to be solely on pay-per-view.
right. Yeah.
I mean, I should say this. We don't know yet. That could be a DAZN feature. That could be, if it is on Fox or Showtime, then we can definitely compare it. I'll be fascinated.
I wanted to say something about Caleb Plant, who's getting a lot of crap for asking for $10 million. Why did you only ask for $10 million? Oh, he asked for 12, right? No, he asked for 10.
It was 10.
He asked for 10. Why didn't you ask for 12? I think you undersold yourself, bro. Look, because he's going to get 7 or 8, right? So, like, they say 10. He says 10. They laugh at him and say 5, and then they meet in the middle of 7 or 8. Just go higher. Like, they're not gonna. Canelo wants to fight. He wants to fight. Canelo wants to. The biggest guy in the biggest name in the world wants to fight you. I'd say 12, 15. Like, and then I'm gonna come down, but I would start that high,
Gary,
because he wants to fight you.
You were definitely that guy in school. If like the hottest, baddest chick came up to you, like you knew, like, oh man, like, what's happening here? You'd be like, you would play hard to get. You were that guy. Like, no, Garrett, you have to say yes. Oh man, I do think 10 million is not a bad sort of ask or request, I should say. I don't think that's a bad negotiation.
No, I think it's a low. I think it's a low starting point. I would have went higher.
It might not be a low starting point. We don't know where the starting point actually existed. You know what I mean? Like, this could be a midpoint. It could have been 15 million. We have no idea what it was originally. But I also don't think he's gonna outbid himself when he knows, well, this is Canelo. He's the baddest person around. He can go face anyone. Like, I'm just the lucky guy that he chose. You know what I mean?
But he said he wants to fight me. You know what I'm saying? I got that in my back pocket.
Yeah, but so?
That's a negotiating chip. He wants to fight me. Okay, I'll fight you.
And
I'll give you. I'm willing to give you what you want, but you got to pay me.
And then Canelo can be like, "Hey, Dave Benavidez, I'll offer you $5 million." You know what I mean?
Come back.
Hey, Jamal Charlo, how you doing over there? You know, you're looking pretty good. Let's get over here. You know, come on. Like,
you said 7 million, right? 8, we have a deal. But
how do you think the Pacquiao-Spence fight goes? I mean, I know you kind of gave it the two directions it can go, and that's the obvious two paths it can go. But what are you thinking here? Because Spence opened up as a massive favorite, right? I forget the exact number.
I think just based on the fact that Pacquiao has gotten 2 years older since he last fought. You know, when a guy goes from 40 to 42, and I know Pacquiao's on the good stuff, right? So that helps, right? But he's still 42. So I'm going to say he does well. He opens up well, and he's probably winning the fight after a couple of rounds, but Spence breaks him down to the body. We've never really seen anyone get to Pacquiao's body. I think Spence does that and gets him out 8-9 rounds. But I think Pacquiao through 4 rounds is winning the fight on volume, on his combinations, on those little outbursts that he throws. But eventually, at 42, that's going to slow down, and Spence is going to help that slow down with body work, and Spence will, over time, break him down and stop him.
I think Pacquiao's going to be really competitive in this fight, ultimately. But I do think Spence is just a little bit better at this point in time. I think it's getting better, too. You know what I mean? Like, these are two guys where their trajectories are going in different directions. And Pacquiao is just so talented that he's been able to hang on at this level for so long. But like you said, there's a 2+ year layoff now. You're only getting older. Spence is only getting better. I mean, his fight with Danny Garcia was, 9 months ago now?
Yeah.
And that was probably his best performance to date. His most complete performance, I should say. I don't see how Pacquiao wins this except for getting a knockdown and like getting up on the scorecards that way. A little bit like the Thurman fight, where Thurman was able to bounce back late in the second half of the fight and win a lot of rounds, but he didn't win the fight because that knockdown helped out in the scorecards. Pacquiao could win that way by, clipping Spence, rocking him, and putting him down for a second. That's not out of the question, in my opinion, even though Spence has shown to be durable. But Pacquiao's shown to still pack power. I'm really intrigued by this fight. I'll be honest. I was not expecting this, Gary. I'm assuming you were not expecting it.
No, I was expecting
this.
Spence to fight Ugas, and now Ugas doesn't have a fight, so it's like Ugas should fight Crawford.
Yeah, but let's talk about Crawford now, like in complete detail. I mean, what's next for him? I mean, he was still out there saying he's getting the Pacquiao fight while he's negotiating with Errol Spence.
Well, there's no money for that fight, but I told you, like, for Spence, and I don't care who you think is better or who you think deserves to be the A side. For Crawford, Spence was the best option. For Spence, Pacquiao was the best option, and it was easier to make. So if you really wanted to fight Spence, 60-40 was nice. That was generous. You should have took it if you really wanted to fight, because he had more lucrative options than you that were easier to make. So, what's next for Crawford? Go fight Ugas, Crawford. Go fight. You don't want to fight Porter. You scared of Porter. Like, can we be real? He's scared of Porter. He didn't even want to negotiate. He didn't even want to make a goodwill negotiation with Porter. He's scared of Porter. So go fight Ugas. All right? Like, if you beat Ugas, you're unified. You've unified belts in 3 divisions now.
And like, he should beat Ugas.
He should beat Ugas. He'll beat Ugas.
Porter's a tough fight, man, and Porter doesn't have a belt now, so like that's probably the reason why they're not trying to negotiate.
Best name on his resume.
Hey man, it's Bob Arum.
But they offered him $1 million.
Yeah, that's a joke.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it would have been like if Plant said, "I want $50 million to fight Canelo." It's like, okay, you're being so ridiculous that we're not even going to have a conversation.
Oh man, I don't know what happens with Crawford. I'll be honest. He's got to get out of that Top Rank deal. But even then, I don't even know if that's the answer for him.
It's not because he's scared of Porter. If they really wanted the Porter fight, and Porter said he favored that fight, he favored the Crawford fight over any other fight, wouldn't you make him a legitimate offer, knowing that you don't have a ton of options? And Porter's a good option, a lucrative option. Wouldn't you make him a real legitimate offer?
I don't know, man. I don't know what Top Rank was thinking, because they have nothing for Crawford, like except for maybe a Josh Taylor fight, right? Like that'd be a good substitute for nothing. That's better than Ugas, in my opinion. I'll be quite honest.
But they could make a fight with Virgil Ortiz, but it's still not an in-house fight for them. You know, like it's Josh Taylor is what they have. It's like, and it's a great fight, but like, is Josh Taylor going to do that? Otherwise, they don't have anything for him.
I feel sad for Crawford. I'll be honest. I just want to like go and like talk to him. Like, you can get out of this, man. Like, it's okay. You don't have to keep doing this to yourself.
But this way, he can stay safe from having to fight Porter. Because if you lose to Spence or you lose to Pacquiao, it's okay. But you lose to Porter, the other guy, Spence and Thurman, already beat him. You know what I'm saying? So you can't lose to him.
No, I mean, it makes sense from a matchmaking perspective, right? From like a promotional perspective. I don't know if Crawford's scared. I just don't think they want to negotiate with Sean Porter in any good faith, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not they're scared, I don't know. I doubt that. I just, like you said, they're analyzing it from that perspective. Porter's a guy that's already lost to everyone. Like, we don't need him. Like, we need Spence, Pacquiao, and they kept trying to get Pacquiao, and they kept telling Crawford for some reason that he's getting the Pacquiao fight, while Pacquiao's negotiating with his rival.
It's like you flirted with this girl, and then behind your back, she's flirting with your arch enemy, right? Like the guy that used to bully you in middle school. It's like,
dude, I forget. I think I saw some clip of Crawford talking. Man, he looked heated. He looked upset. It's gonna be okay, Crawford. It's gonna be okay. Anyways, I think that's it for like the big news of this last week or so. Let's get to the fights that's coming up on this weekend. Devin Haney versus Jorge Linares on DAZN. Martin Joseph Ward versus Azigi Fuzeli. And Chantel Cameron versus Melissa Hernandez. Haney should win this one, I think, in rather dominant fashion. I think Linares is not who he used to be for obvious reasons. We've seen him get knocked out. In the first round?
yeah.
In the first round, right? Was it the first round or the second round?
First round.
I mean, Haney has enough pop to where I think he can actually hurt Linares, even though I don't think Haney has that much pop. That probably goes to show how much I think Linares has left in the tank. This should be a big win in terms of name value, though, obviously, because Linares still probably has some name value in the division. But I'm not that hyped for this fight. I'll be quite honest. I should be probably more hyped for it, but I'm not. Because to me, this is another like Gamboa matchup. This is another sidestep of the same shit for Haney.
It's a lot like the Gamboa fight. Look, it has more. How competitive? Like no one's going to pick Linares. How competitive Linares is dependent upon how much is left in Linares. It has little to do with Haney. If it's Linares that fought Loma, he'll lose, but he'll be competitive. If it's the one that fought on the Ryan Garcia undercard last Valentine's Day, or the one that got knocked out by Pablo Cano, he's going to get destroyed by Haney. Now, his last two fights, his speed does not look the same, right? And he was a fighter who was predicated around speed. So I see this. If I'm wrong, it's going to be because Linares has more left in the tank than I'm giving him credit for. But I see this mostly being a one-sided whitewash. And if Haney steps on the gas, which I'm asking him to do, please, for me, Devin Haney, step on the gas, he'll get Linares out. Get him out. Get Linares out. Like if you can get him to cut. He'll bleed. Like, come on, get him out. Like, the same thing I said to Rob about his boy Richards. Like, step on the gas and just get him out. Like, get him out of there. I want to see, again, and if he wins 12-0, we'll all say how good his skills are. But, like, you're not going to beat everyone 12-0. When you get people hurt, step on the gas. And if you have speed, you can let the hands go and make the ref stop the fight. Right? Just let the punches go. Hurt him and let punches go and make the ref step in and stop it. Do that, Devin Haney. Like, we all know your skills and your reflexes and your athleticism are superb. Now we want to see that you have the heart, that you're a fighter, that you'll get in there and you'll take someone out.
Agreed. Also, I'm picking Cameron versus Melissa Hernandez. The Melissa Hernandez is a quality opponent. Chantel Cameron's a quality. Is
that co-main?
Yes, co-main. It's for the WBC super lightweight.
It's good that Golden Boy is giving women fights some decent card placement.
It's not Golden Boy.
Oh, it's not. It's Matchroom. I'm just Linares. Yeah.
It's probably Golden Boy co-promotion.
Yeah, because I was like, Matchroom's the only one. I was about to say Matchroom's. I guess Top Rank is kind of following suit. Like they had kind of Matchroom leads the way in that.
Oh,
right? I'm not saying
That's,
they do an amazing job with it, but they do the best job with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he said the only way that we're going to get more eyes and more people to take it seriously is to give it better card placement. Put it on where people are watching it. If you put it on an empty arena at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, no one's watching it.
Absolutely agree with that. And this is like one of like the two big cards of the weekend. The other big card is Nordino Bali versus Nonito Donaire. Yes, our boy Donaire is back. In a fight that I'm really conflicted about. I'll be honest. I've gone back and forth on who I think wins this fight. I'm hesitantly picking Donaire to win this.
What's causing the hesitation? Because you don't like. I was the one. You and Rob would bash on O'Bali. I was like, he's pretty good. I mean, I don't pick him to win this fight because Donaire's a Hall of Famer, but O'Bali's pretty good.
No, O'Bali is really good. I think it's all about how much Donaire has left in the tank.
Yeah.
If we see the Donaire that fought Inoue, he wins this.
Absolutely.
It's not even like in question. He's gonna be the better fighter in every single facet. He might be, he's the heavier handed fighter. He's the bigger fighter. He's the better fighter. Like if that Donaire shows up, he washes O'Bali, in my opinion. But it's been a couple years now since that, right? Like we're talking about a huge layoff. We're talking about an older fighter that's going to get older, and all of a sudden he's not going to be the same anymore. All of a sudden he's not going to be able to make this weight cut anymore.
He says he can make 115. I don't know how that's possible. No. He said he can do it.
I doubt it.
He was fighting at 130. What was he gaining weight to fight? I mean, no, he was huge at 118. So I agree. I don't know how he would do it. I don't know how he made 118, but
I mean, let's be honest. Like Donaire is going to be at one point just look old. And he did look old for a long period of time. Like that's the funny thing. Like at 130 and 126,
yeah,
he looked old. He's rejuvenating himself at 118. Can that be sustained against a young fighter, against a guy that throws a lot of combinations, a lot of bombs? Like Bali's a very active fighter. Like he could win this just on purely activity and volume, and overwhelm a older, faded Donaire, right?
Do you have the soundboard where everyone's on steroids, the whole UFC?
No, I do not.
Okay. Yeah, so Bali can win this on volume. So first, he's getting better as he gets. He's got to be close to 40 now, right? He's 38, 8.
Let me check. I'll check it.
So, look, I'm not accusing him of cheating because I don't have any knowledge of that. I'm going to say I'm not going to speculate on that.
He's 38.
38. I'm not going to speculate on whether or not he's cheating. Although getting better at 38 is not normal. It's like the Mets pitcher DeGrom, like the best pitcher in baseball. He was making a rehab start. He's 33 years old. He was throwing 102 miles an hour. In his prime, when he was 26, 27, 28, he was throwing 96. Now he's added 6 miles an hour to his fastball in his 30s. But if you say he's on steroids because everyone likes him, then you've like committed some heinous crime. Like to suggest that Donaire, who is getting better in his late 30s, is on something. Like it's common sense. It shouldn't be an offense. It should be a reasonable question to ask, right? We all asked about Pacquiao when he got better at 28, 29, 30. But here's what I think is going to happen. I think O'Bali is going to be winning the fight on volume, but it's all going to be downloading information. And in the middle rounds, I'm going to say 7. Donaire unleashes and knocks it out with something massive. Where like it looks like he's not doing a whole lot. He's not throwing a ton, but he's timing them and he's setting something up. And I think Donaire lands something huge in the middle rounds and ends it all at once.
Definitely possible. I mean, he's the heavy-handed fighter.
Yeah.
In this matchup, 100%. I mean, Taka Inoue hurt Obali in the last fight, and he has like
power really is God given, right? Like the same family that grew up boxing in the same gym at the same time. One guy's got all the power in the world, and the other's got none.
all of them do not have power, right? Every single one does not have power. But anyways, yes, I think we're pretty much on the same page there. Sabral Matisse is also on this card against Batuzan Jurkimbayev. I definitely mispronounced that. Apologies.
It'll be a fun fight because Matisse is only in fun fights, so it'll be fun.
True. That is absolutely true. I don't know much about his opponent here, to be quite honest. Gary, do you know anything about him?
I didn't see who it was originally. I thought it was the guy that when they said his name, I thought it was the guy that Barrios fought to win his regular title. But it's not. No. I looked it up. It's a different guy. I don't. That'll be a good fight. Like I don't know. I'll probably take Ackman. But then
that's what I was thinking too, man. Like, oh, it's a good fight. No, it's some undefeated Kazakh, man. We've never heard of.
I mean, I'm guessing this Kazakh guy has power because, well, they all have power. So
18-0 with 14 knockouts.
I'm guessing this is going to be a fun fight. I don't know who's going to win because I don't know anything about the guy he's fighting. I know that Matias is a fun offensive fighter who can hook. So again, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know about his opponent, but I'm guessing it's going to be fun.
Dude, this guy beat Miguel Vasquez. Remember Miguel Vasquez?
Of course.
In 2019, and he didn't knock him out. How old is Miguel Vasquez at this point?
He's like 35. I bet you he's had 50 fights, but he's not that old.
Dude, he's only 34. Look at this.
I hate it when they're so much younger than me.
dude, don't worry, Gary. Look, I'm going to show you his face right now. You're good. You're good, Gary. Holy shit. This is a old 34 guy.
How many losses he got now? 10 losses?
10 losses, yeah.
Only 2 knockouts. Only knocked out twice.
Well, I mean, that's what he's known for, is being super tough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he fought Canelo twice, and a lot of people think that he beat Canelo one time.
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
He fights for Mexico when he was like 16. Like, no one won. Except like 10 people in a bar. Like, that's the reality. But shout out to Miguel Vasquez, man. The puppet master, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to him, man. Great fighter. Long time. I'm not going to say a journeyman because I think he's a little bit better than that, but great opponent. Also on this card, one of the Gary Russell brothers is on it. Gary Antoine Russell fighting Jovan Santiago, who fought. Didn't he fight? Who did he fight?
Fought Broner, and on
Yeah,
my card, and I don't want to say it was a robbery. It wasn't a robbery. A lot of people thought he beat Broner.
that is true. That's definitely true. That's about it.
That's a fun little fight, though. Like, Santiago's a scrapper. Like, if he can get on Russell, yeah. I think this is going to show how bad Broner is, because I'm thinking Russell may dominate this guy, right? And everyone's going to be like,
if this Russell knocks him out, his power is legit, because he's 13-0 with 13 knockouts.
Yeah.
Like, he might be the real deal. I don't know yet, because he hasn't faced anyone of note, in my opinion.
I'm interested in seeing this fight, because Santiago is a guy who did well with Broner, so he's not terrible, right? And I watched Santiago's fight in preparation for that fight, and I was like, okay, this guy's got some skills. He's slow, and if he's slow against Russell, and again, I've never seen this Russell against high-level opponents. I'm not saying he's got the same speed as his brother, but I'm sure he's pretty quick, given his genetics. Although Takuma Inoue can't punch, so who knows, right? I'm guessing, given his family, his genetics, he's quick. This could be a one-sided beatdown for Russell, which I think would be impressive.
What was Keyshawn Davis's brother?
They're all there's Keon, and then there's
what was the one that
Kelvin.
Which one found the card that looked bad?
Kelvin. He said Keyshawn says Keon, which is Keyshawn's the middle brother. Keon's the youngest brother. He says he's the best one.
We can talk about him later on too, because he's going back to the Olympics.
I see, that's what we do in this stuff. We give all our kids the name with one letter, same letter.
Yeah, I hate it so much. So annoying. Or like you're just Gary Russells and they're all named Gary Russell.
That's not conventional.
Was there another athlete that did that?
George Foreman has 9 kids, 8 boys named George, and 1 girl named Georgina.
That's it. I was like, there's another boxer, but I didn't remember if it was an actual boxer. We forgot to mention, because it was on BoxRec, Jason Quigley versus Shane Mosley Jr. And Rashad Maddie are on the Devin Haney card. I do like the Jason Quigley Shane Mosley fight, because it's 2 guys that are never going to be in the top 10 fighting it out to who's maybe going to be in the top 15.
And I'm interested in Maddie, because I think he's a guy that's vastly improving.
Yes, I am curious as his prospect trajectory grows. Let's talk about Keyshawn Davis in terms of prospects as well. Going back to the Olympics, is it Tokyo?
I don't understand this. Do you understand how you could do this?
But they changed the rule a long time ago. Remember that?
Everything got so. Yeah, you're right.
When Hassan Nadam went back to the Olympics and got iced. Remember?
Yeah.
He fought David Lemieux, and like, fuck, that was a tough fight. I'm gonna go to the Olympics for France, and got his ass beat bad. Like, I think he was knocked out in the Olympics, which is rare. You don't see that often.
You got to be really out, because it's only 3 rounds, and they'll give you 8 counts and stuff, which gives you time to.
And plus, I think that was the same time when they took away the headgear and they changed the scoring systems. Like, it's all changed since then. So that's why Keyshawn Davis can come back.
I don't love pros being able to go back, right? Because what you're gonna put, what if Wilder says, or a guy who can hit like that, like Dillian White or something. I want to go to the Olympics. He can kill somebody. Like, you're gonna have him against somebody who's so outmatched and so outgunned. Like, this ain't basketball. It's not track and field. Like, you could kill somebody. Like, I don't love this. Right? Like, I don't even like them being able to say amateurs for this long in the World Boxing Super Series. Like that, you're a professional. Go be a professional. And let the amateurs do the amateur, right? Because, you're trying to knock people out, and now you're having a professional against an amateur. It's a bad look to me.
I don't really have that much of a strong opinion about it, like you, Gary. I'll be honest.
So if Wilder or Dillian White or some heavy hitter like that said, I want to go back to the Olympics and fight an amateur.
I mean, Wilder's already won a medal in the Olympics, so why not?
He could kill somebody at this point.
Yeah, but then you also get cases where it's what was his name? Teofilo, was it?
Teofilo Stevenson. Yeah.
Stevenson. Yeah. Certain guys, everyone says they're still that's the best guy in all of heavyweight. Yeah. You just didn't know about it because you're in the amateurs forever. I don't mind there being a little bit more of this transparent divide between the amateurs and the pros, as long as it's handled properly. right? Like I think if you're like, let's say like the Wilder types, you can't go fight a Golden Gloves in your local like city. You know what I mean? Like that's right. Like that's
Yeah.
a little bit different. Going to the Olympics, I don't view that as a bridge that we can't cross. To be honest, I think that's fine. It's the minor amateur shows. You guys shouldn't be in that, of course. Earl Spence, you should go beat up some 13-year-old at the local Y. Like that's not okay, man. I kind of view in that perspective. With the Olympics, it's whatever. Who cares?
You kind of changed my mind. Okay, when you said Stevenson, you're right. Everyone wanted Stevenson to fight Ali, but at that time it wasn't possible.
Imagine if that rule didn't exist then, and Ali could go back to the amateurs and fight Stevenson.
You changed my mind a little bit for just for the Olympics. You changed my mind a little bit.
Look at me, changing Gary's mind. A rare occurrence. What else do we have here, Gary, for news and topics to get to? I think that might be it. Anything else I'm forgetting? Any big news?
I mean, no. I mean, I'm still trying to get Matt to do 2 shows a week, y'all. So bombard him with emails and phone calls like you're trying to sell him an extended warranty, on his car. I don't even drive. I don't have a car. I've had a car in years, and I still get 5 calls a day about extending my warranty.
All the time, man.
I saw a meme going around. It was Kermit the Frog, and it says, "Me, when I see you broken down on the side of the road, knowing you've got multiple cars to extend your warranty," and he rolls up the window and drives off. What is with these? Like, do you think anyone picks up the phone? Like at this point, and what happens if you do? Do like throw a big party? Like someone want to talk to me about extending my warranty?
Or like something like Google business listings. I always get calls about that too.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, I don't want to talk to whoever you are. Like, you're a scammer. I can tell. So it's so annoying. I get at least 10 calls like that daily.
There was a rule originally you couldn't call cell phones for business calls, and that lost sunset, and they never re-upped it. So now they can call your cell phone because you used to have to pay for it, right? Like you didn't have unlimited plans, so you had to pay for incoming calls. So it was all that you couldn't call people on their cell phone for cold calls, and then that lost sunset, and then every lobby in the world was like, don't worry about them. They have unlimited plans now. I'm gonna call them. So now you get 100 calls a day, and they're crafty now too. They call you. They change the number so it's your area code. I get calls from all over the place, from 214, 817 numbers. I was like, that got me.
On, man. For some reason, I've had like them call me from a San Antonio number for like 3 months now.
210.
It's 210. Yep, and I keep blocking it, right? And they keep coming with a different 210 number.
They're crafty with it. Yeah.
I'm like, how? And like, I'm not even in San Antonio. Why are they doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Anyways, Gary, we should be back on later this week if you want. I can probably do that.
Yeah. I want to do 2 shows a week. I know Matt's got a different schedule and things to do. I don't leave my house, really, to go outside in my backyard.
But I am working at a recording studio now. House of Dreams in LA. So if you want any bookings, DM me on social media right there if you want to book a podcast or music recording session. But yes, I should be back on later this week for a General Strike podcast because our last show was blocked. Fuck YouTube. Fuck the
Which
Guardian.
word did you use? Don't say it. But what does it rhyme with?
No. Because I always show like news clips right on my political show, and it's under fair use. I put disclaimers on and everything. I've never had issues. Never.
I don't understand. So I just watched the video on Zach Wilson, who was drafted by the Jets to BYU quarterback, and the whole thing was them voicing over highlights, different highlights from all those BYU games. How are they allowed to do that? But then, like, you show 20 seconds of a video and that gets blocked. I don't understand their rules.
It's not consistent. That's the reality. Because I showed clips from The Guardian, Democracy Now, Al Jazeera, the BBC. Like I show clips all the time from a ton of like a variety of outlets, right? And then I go on YouTube and show I make fun of like PragerU clips and shit like that, right? Never have any copyright issues. right? The only time it's really an issue is like for music, and they just demonetize it. But
they demonetize it. Yeah,
they don't block it. And I'm cool with that. Like whatever. You want to take the ad money? Take the ad money. I really don't care. I don't give a fuck. This was the first time that it was legit blocked. The video's blocked. You cannot watch. You cannot see it. You cannot find it. And it's from The Guardian. And it's because I showed 3 minutes of their news clip. And that's never been an issue. I've showed The Guardian before. Like, you know me, Gary. I'm not one to really get conspiracy theory or like say like, oh, YouTube is like this like massive censor of like hot topic issues. But it was about Israel and Palestine. And I did use a very extreme word in the title. So I'm assuming.
You think if you would have taken that word out of the title, think it would have got blocked?
Dude, here's the reality. Because when I went live, Twitch wouldn't let me go live with that title. They blocked the show live on Twitch because of the title, because of that one word.
Okay.
I had to take out that word. And then Twitch allowed me to live stream. I don't know. I don't know if I had a more a milquetoast title, it would have slipped under the radar. Maybe.
Cheeseburgers, whatever the word is, change it to cheeseburgers.
I was pissed, man, because I sent out a repeal. Like I rarely do that because I don't want to risk the channel getting terminated.
Yeah.
But I sent out a repeal for this case because there's no way this is okay. Like there's no way. I've done this before. I've done it with that outlet before.
They'll undo they'll undo the strike. They gave you a strike.
They didn't give me a strike though. They
Okay.
just blocked the video. Luckily,
Like there's a lot of libertarian channels who do that, and like, but they feel like the damage is done. You couldn't go live at that particular time. Like, we'll undo the strike, but like the content is not out there in a timely manner anymore.
Yeah, that I can still live stream, so that's not it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably go live this week. And Gary, we still have to pick up like a topic to like have.
There was some. I had something. Shoot. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk in that chat. Yeah.
That's my text, mate. Gary, let the people know where to find you and your other channel.
Oh, find me all from social media, 3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog. Please, guys, please like my brand new channel that's completely dedicated to Texas boxing scene. It's brand new YouTube channel. All proceeds go to autism research and recovery. Guys, this isn't for me. It's for the children. It's for the children.
Wu-Tang for the children.
Wu-Tang is for the children. It is May 25th. Ivan Calderon is still on the Boxing Hall of Fame. Let's make that chance. Let's get the Iron Boy in the class of 2021. And Texas is unfortunately still not a country. Let's make Texas a country again. We only got a couple of days left in this session, so it's not going to happen.
It's okay, Gary.
I'm gonna run. I'm gonna. We can talk about this off. I'm gonna primary my local congressman, my state congressman. My state representative. Because all you had to do was vote for it, and then it would go to the people. It would go to a popular vote of the people. Whatever the people want, you work for them. Let them decide what they want. And you didn't even let it out of committee, because it would have passed if you had let it out of committee. And then if it would have passed, it would have passed amongst the people. So you just kept it in committee and locked it down and threw it away.
Oh, what happened to Gary there? Oh, Big Brother came and got Gary, guys. Oh, Gary's back. Hi, Gary.
That's my rant for today.
Big Brother got you, man. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's so funny. No, I absolutely agree with that. You know how I view U.S. politics, Gary. And plus, like I remember in the Federalist Papers, I remember reading, there's one line, I forget it, I can't quote it verbatim, but it talks about how like representatives are supposed to be like a filter to the people. And that filter aspect of sort of parliamentary politics is despicable. But digressing. Follow me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all social media platforms. Our other channels, obviously Texas Boxing Scene with Gary. My other channel, Trending Now Network on YouTube. I'm going to be live later this week talking politics. I might come back to the Israel-Palestine conflict since they blocked our last video. I might, come back and do other cover from a different angle if I can. And remember, at all times, on that note, free Palestine and fuck the police. Have a good one. Peace.